All right, and welcome to episode three, I think, of the While You Were Sleeping podcast. I am your host, Tyrell James. Got a special guest with me, David Higgins II. How you doing?
Not bad. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. All right, so you just did the Rorschach test podcast. On the Rorschach test, I put these pictures up, and you told me what you saw. So we first used your conscious mind. So now we're going to tap into your subconscious mind. When I talk about your dreams, um, but I want to talk about three types of dreams. Though I want to talk about the dreams that you have when you're sleeping. Then I want to talk about the dreams like your daydreams, and then I want to talk about your dreams and aspirations. Now, any of these dreams, any of these types of dreams can be from any point of your life,
Mhm.
whether you were a kid, adolescent, adult, young adulthood, now, whenever, at any point in your life. Okay. So, first, let me ask you, do you dream often?
No,
You don't.
no.
I heard one time, and so somebody said to me one time, they said, you know what? You dream every single night. You constantly have dreams
Right.
all throughout the night. And the first thing I said was, how do you know? How do you know? Like I'm
Yeah.
asleep. How do you know what's going on in with my rapid eye movement when I'm asleep? Um, so I don't. And when they say the thing is you just don't always remember them.
Right.
But how do you know? Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. I've just I like questioning things. I just like questioning things. So but you said that you don't think you don't dream often.
Not that I can remember,
Okay.
but I know what you're talking about. With you dream when you're an REM, so it's when you hit that deep sleep.
Right.
Just the issue with me is for a long time I was on a lot of medicine because of my back,
Okay.
so it was kind of a medically induced deep sleep.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then with my job, I'm constantly listening for my buzzer to go off if something happened with breaking news or something like that. So
Gotcha. So you're a light sleeper
I can
unless
be.
you're on the medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Got you. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you some questions about dreams. I'm going to try to link your dreams to what it is that you do for a living, but I'm timing myself. I got to do it in 30 minutes or less. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So did you ever have a dream either growing up or even as an adult, something that was very significant to you, something that just really stands out, nightmare or whatever kind of dream?
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about it.
Um, there would. It's been a while since I had this dream probably in my early no early 30s. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was in a apartment fire and I was out cold. I had to be pulled out by the firefighters. Um, I would have for several months after that dreams where I was like in a
Oh, I'm
black
sorry.
hole.
Hold on. That really happened
Yeah.
when you were in the apartment fire.
Yep.
Okay, that's not the
Yep.
dream. Gotcha.
So I would have dreams after that of being like in a black hole, and I would wake up that I couldn't get out of.
Mhm.
But I would finally wake up. I'd be in cold sweat. I feel extremely hot, like I was burning.
Mhm.
Um, and it would be dreams along those lines.
Okay, and it was a reoccurring dream.
Yeah.
That you were having
For several months.
several months. At what age?
This would be in my early 30s.
Early 30s. Okay. And you were already reporting on the news at the time.
No, not at the time.
Okay.
But I was working in the, you could say, journalism field per se. I was working in social media management, blogging, things like that. So it was still a writing field.
Okay. At the time, did you want to eventually own your own newspaper?
Nope. I
Okay.
had no thought of it.
No thought of it. All right. And just all right. Tell me again what happened in those dreams.
Well, I mean, I can't remember all the exact stuff, but a lot of times it was basically there would be like a black hole that I couldn't get out of.
Mhm.
There was no way to get out, or a room that I couldn't get out of. There was no doors.
Okay.
Basically, that feeling of being trapped.
Okay. All right. On the Rorschach test podcast, you threw some zingers at me, and I was trying to link what it is that you saw with those Rorschach tests and what it is you do for a living, and I pulled it off this time. This one's a bit rough. Okay. So feeling as if you were in the black hole, no doors, no walls. There was no way of escaping.
Right.
Um, um, the news, the world is you can't escape this world. I mean, you can, but we don't want that. We don't want that. So, um, um, we are stuck in a world where there's constantly negativity. The news thrives off of negativity, honestly. If it was just all good news, then it wouldn't be so popular. But it's dark, like a black hole. And um, so in order for you to be able to report on this, you have to be in the midst of it. And you have to, I guess, essentially be in a place where, there are no doors, there are no walls. There's no way that you can escape these things. So you have to just deal with the darkness that comes with journalism.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna ask some more questions. I'm going to try to come back to that. I want to dig deeper into that because I feel like I can peel back layers. I feel like I can peel back layers with that. So I'm going to try to come back to that in a second. Now I want to move on to your daydreams. Um, do you often, even as a kid, did you ever find yourself just daydreaming? And it's like, for instance, so I remember when I was the very first time I realized that I wanted to be an actor. I was 10 years old. I was in a play at school. I remember the exact place I was standing on the stage. I remember looking out into the audience, and I made two decisions at that moment at 10 years old. Number one, I wanted to be an actor. Number two, I didn't want to go to college because I wanted to be an actor. But I was daydreaming. I was in the midst of acting, and for a split moment, I just began daydreaming about what it is that I wanted to do with my life. So, do you ever find yourself with, or even as a kid, did you ever find yourself in those moments where you were just lost, just daydreaming?
I couldn't say when I was a kid. It's too long ago.
Mm.
Um,
Don't make yourself that old, Dave. You're
I
not
know
that
I
old.
did. I know I did. But it's just too long. I can't remember back that far. But I typically, if I find myself daydreaming, it tends to be about if this, and this happens, I'm able to do this,
Okay.
whether it be in family or business, friends, whatever. But what would it be like if these couple things that need to happen?
Hmm.
You know,
Okay.
what would that end result look like?
Hmm. You do that with your job, though, right?
It doesn't matter what it could be. It could be if it's with the website.
Hmm.
If I get these two big sponsors, they decide to sign this big contract.
Hmm.
What can I do with that? Oh, I'm going to get a couple more reporters, and the paper's going to get more views, and things like that. And I'm going to get more advertisers. Or it could be if we get this and this, that we can do this to the house,
Hmm.
family wise, or go on this trip, or things like that.
Hmm. All right, but
But it's more they tend to be more about bettering my life in a sense.
right, right.
You know.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. And of course, and just in linking that to what it is that you do for a living, um, when you have these daydreams and you're focusing on these things that can better your life, whether personally, whether it comes to business, whatever. With me trying to link this to what it is that you do for a living, when you have those daydreams about making things better for your business, it will affect how positive, it
Mhm.
will eventually have a positive effect on the personal,
Mhm.
as well. Because if business is thriving, your personal life, you can do all of these things. You can make those
Right.
changes to the house. You can, do whatever, take those dream vacations and things of that nature. A lot of times in daydreams, I daydream a lot. And a lot of times I daydream about um, my business, but then I daydream also about the things that my business can bring me on a personal level. So it's all, that's all connected.
Right.
The daydream part is always the easiest part for me to link. When I'm doing these podcasts, it's always easy for me to link that to what it is they do that you do for a living, because that's who you are. That's what you're
Mhm.
doing. So now let's talk about your dreams and aspirations. But I want to go back to the time that you were a kid, if you can remember that far.
It's a tough one.
So what did you want to be when you were a kid, just
I
growing
think
up?
at one point I wanted to be an athlete.
Okay.
I played a lot of sports as a kid. played football, I played hockey, I played baseball, played soccer. So I really wanted to, I believe, at multiple different points in growing up. It wasn't until I got into high school that I got into journalism.
Okay.
Because I really hated English.
Mhm.
I was never really good at it.
That is funny. That is funny to hear.
It wasn't until
that.
my English teacher said, you should really go try this class out. You need an elective anyway.
Mhm.
And I went and did it, and within a couple months, I was the first sophomore to ever have a front page story in the school paper.
Oh wow! Okay.
And it kind of blossomed into that, and it did lead to the different things I did in my life with the blogging and the websites and stuff. It all kind of came around to culminate with the news site.
Okay.
But younger was more the sports,
Mm-hmm.
athletics, things like that.
Yeah. I can connect that to what it is that you do now. I mean, as a, with being an athlete, you have this competitive nature, and of course, you have to be competitive when it comes to reporting on the news. I mean, you have to, again, we talked about it in the Rorschach Test podcast. You have to walk this fine line of being factual and not being too opinionated, or not being opinionated at all. Being factual and not sensationalizing anything, and it always comes back to being factual when we're talking about somebody such as yourself who has journalistic integrity, because there's so many people who don't,
Right.
And we talked about, we touched on that briefly in the Rorschach Test podcast, but at the same time, you have to be competitive. You have to,
stories don't just come to you.
Right, exactly. They don't always come to you, and a lot of times it's about being first. It's about being first, and with sports, it's about being first. Nobody is like, yeah, I just want to come in second place. Nobody. It's about being first. The athletic part, that's, I get that. I can understand anybody who grew up wanting to be an athlete eventually going to journalism. There's so many things about that, especially, and the funny thing is, how many times do we see an athlete retire and then
go to journalism, sports broadcasting, or something along those lines? Yeah,
right. Yeah, so it makes sense. It definitely makes sense. But I think that there are things that are implanted in you as an athlete that that you definitely take with you into journalism. You definitely do that. It makes complete sense. I do want to go back to that dream that you had, though. Well, first, let me ask you this: was there anything else that you wanted to do when you were a kid, other than being an athlete?
I think that was about it.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess to be
like I said, I was everything I did was sports. So
okay, yeah. Everybody isn't like me. I wanted to be a football player. I wanted to be a basketball player. I wanted to be a baseball player. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a firefighter. I wanted to be an accountant. I think I did at one point want to be an astronaut. I think I did.
Every kid wants to be an astronaut.
Right. And then I started to want to be things that I did eventually become. Like, I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to be a producer. I wanted to be,
the thing is, too, is that when we were growing up, those kind of jobs that are around today were not around when we were a kid.
Right, yeah.
There was no online news.
Right.
It was not that easy to become a rapper and get your stuff out there. There was no Spotify.
Right.
There was no Apple Music.
Yep.
So some of these aspirations that we did have, they weren't even realized yet.
Right, yeah. But you know what? It was difficult. It was very, very difficult when I was trying to get into the music game. The one thing that I can say that I'm very proud of is that the music game didn't tell me no. I told them no. I walked away from it because this is another podcast for another day. But they were trying to change me. And
that's a common thing.
Yeah, I actually had one guy tell me, "You're too smart." He said you need to dumb it down. Like, well, I'm not going to dumb it down because you won't smarten up. I'm not doing that. Hey, get out of here.
Well, I mean, look at the music that sells today.
I know. And unfortunately for me and a lot of other lyricists, I was coming into the game at a time where that shift was occurring, where we were moving away from lyricism and moving to a more simplified way of making music. And well, should I say a more simplified way of writing music. Something I remember my cousin told me one time. He said, "You know what? You got to have a catchy beat and a chorus that people can remember the first time they hear it."
Yep.
And they were telling me that my hooks they were just too wordy. It's too wordy. And you know, people are probably sitting there thinking like, "What the hell does this have to do with dreams?" That was my dream. I wanted to be,
You're in a dream.
Be a rapper. Exactly. Yeah, I wanted to be a rapper, but it didn't pan out. But thankfully, it wasn't because they told me I wasn't good enough. I told them, "You're not good enough for me."
Right.
But enough about me. I want to go back to your dream. The reason I went off on that little tangent right there is because the time is right up there in the corner, in the left hand corner. Of course, the people can't see it. We can see it, and we're at 16 minutes and 28 seconds, which tells me I have plenty of time to do this, so I can just kind of whatever. Although the Capitals game is on, right?
Yes.
Let's wrap this up. So I want to go back to that dream. I really wanted to try to peel back more layers. I was hoping that it would come back to me. Maybe I can talk my way through it right now. But with you being, I think so. You said you started having those dreams after you had that fire. And what happened with that fire? You said you had to be rescued.
Yes.
Okay. That you report on those things now. You report on those things. You in those dreams that you were having, it's almost as if you needed to be rescued. Because if you're somewhere where it's completely black and you don't have walls and you don't have doors, and that means there's no way to escape. And essentially you have to be rescued. Now, in your dream, nobody came to rescue you, right?
Right.
But when you were awake, when it actually happened, somebody came to rescue you. Eventually, you wake up. Years later, you become a journalist, and you were able to create your way out of that black hole. Something that actually happened to you led you to dreams that took you to a dark place, and a place that you felt as though you couldn't escape. And then you learned from that how to report on other people not being able to escape from things. And essentially it turned into your escape. I win. And I did it in 19 minutes. 19 minutes. I pulled this off.
You could have done another 10 if you want to talk so much.
I know, right? Right. But all right, so we're going to go ahead and bring this thing to an end. But before we do, I want you to just let everybody know again, where can they find your newspaper?
You can find it at southernmarylandchronicle.com online, or you can find it on Facebook at facebook.com/SOMD Chronicle.
All right. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And until the next time, sweet dreams. And we're having some technical difficulties, so wake back up real quick. Don't have sweet dreams yet. Don't have sweet dreams yet. Sweet dreams.